Listen, I do rants on this channel, okay? That's why the channel's called iRant. But don't think for a second that this is some low-budget film. No. I do research. I did about 2.5 minutes of research before I clicked record. And everything I found just made me more mad at millennials. So let's get right into this. The millennial generation is kind of an awkward stage, it seems like. Every generation has its pros and cons, obviously, and millennials had it hard in certain categories. They got a little unlucky because they weren't quite to the technology age, like they were kind of like starting it, but not everyone knew, and they're kind of in that weird in-between. We're like Gen Z, you know, like we kind of grew up with technology. Like 8-year-olds are probably better at using a computer than millennials. Which caused this whole drama because when I was like 10 years old, I was better at using technology than my 20-year-old siblings. But the problems start occurring when the millennials try to cope with this. They try to cope that their generation is just hated by everyone else. So what the millennials do in response is basically attack the other generations, right? So for example, they'll try to talk to the boomers like, oh, you tricked us into going to college and now we're in debt. And listen, I guess it's true. The millennials got absolutely wrecked by the college system. But you guys allowed it to happen. Like, just because you got totally robbed does not mean that it's everyone else's fault that you got robbed. If someone came to you and said, hey, you can study whatever you want, just pay tens of thousands of dollars, you study what you want, and you'll get a job easy peasy. And then you go into that and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna spend $45,000 a year to get a gender studies degree. That is completely your fault. That is your fault. I have no sympathy for you. Don't get mad at the boomers because you decide to spend $45,000 a year to go get a degree in gender studies, dance, and like fucking communications or some shit. And then you get out of college and you're getting paid less a year than you paid a year to get that degree. I mean, that is your fault. Because granted, a lot of millennials did very well because kind of like what I said before, a lot of them were pioneers in the technology age. When it comes to social media, when it comes to mechanical engineering, tons of millennials did really good job, but a ton of millennials also did a very bad job. So after the millennials try to complain to the boomers and it just straight up doesn't work, they then start looking down at the Gen Zers, you know, and they're like, oh, Gen Z, you guys are all spoiled. We had it hard. The millennials feel very entitled. They feel like they deserve a certain amount of rewards for what they've been through in some way, which really doesn't make sense because they haven't been through that much. What they're really saying is, hey, give me my candy back. It's like you give candy to a kid every single day, and then the one day you don't give him a piece of candy, he's gonna want the piece of candy. And that's kind of what the millennials are feeling like. When you take away the candy, they're like back on level 0. They just don't have anything special, but they're also not like level -5 or something. You know, they're just level 0. But they're so used to being level 1, 2, 3, or 5 that going back to level 0, they're like, what? That's not fair! Which is such a dumb mindset. So now let's see how they react to Gen Z. So when it comes to millennials and Gen Z, the relationship is a little weird because the millennials, that's like when people started becoming like really famous. It was getting easier and easier to become famous, to become wealthy, right? They started seeing movie stars, you know, there wasn't like, oh yeah, those like 17 movie stars. No, there's now hundreds of movie stars that you can just name off the top of your head, right? So the millennials are watching other millennials like start making all this money, but that's only the top 0.001%, but they're seeing it happen before their eyes and they're like, oh, I need to get on that. I need to start doing that. But by then, it was too late because Gen Zers started doing what millennials did, but better, before millennials could even do it themselves, if that makes sense. Millennials have this entitlement attitude, like they're like a spoiled rich person, when in reality, they're middle to low class, most of them. It's like, imagine you bought a new multiplayer game, and you've been grinding it for a few weeks, and you invite a friend over, and that friend is like instantly better than you. That's what it feels like to be a millennial. So no wonder they hate Gen Z, because we're better than them. We are better than them in a lot of things where they actually should be better, but they're not. Millennials watched other millennials create social media and create these crazy money-making opportunities around them. And the millennials, you know, they're watching people their age do this thing. Yet they can't do it themselves. There's a huge gap in capabilities when it comes to millennials, because I'm not gonna lie, there are tons and tons of smart millennials that create things that I'm using right now. Social medias, technology, millennials made a lot of these things. But Also, at the same time, other millennials like can't use hashtags correctly and like struggle posting something onto Instagram. So in come Gen Z, and we're like better than them at those things. So basically goes the top 1% millennials, Gen Z, and then all the rest of the millennials when it comes to like technology and like tech smartness, if that's a word. And because of all of this, they are the saltiest generation known to man. Okay, I don't know about that, but recently, they're just so salty. They're so salty, and that's basically where the cancel culture comes from. They feel like that they are entitled. They are so entitled that no one should be mean to them. No one should disagree with them. If someone offends you, it's their fault. How dare you say something that does not give me butterflies inside, because I need to be feeling so good all the time. Fucking retarded. And if that bothers you, then you're part of the issue. Obviously, every generation, and even like sub parts of each generation, have their own styles, have their own cliques, right? And millennials did not really have that many cool cliques, if we're being honest. And so what they try to do is become quirky. But it's not quirky as in like the quirky blonde girls in high school. And I'm not saying those are good quirks either, but it's just annoying quirkiness, like as in like the vegan milkshakes, or I guess it wouldn't be milk, it's just vegan like kale shakes or whatever, or the, oh, I'm gonna tear down this public statue that's been up in our country for 200 years because that guy's views don't quite align with mine anymore, so I'm gonna tear it down. It's just dumb, man. It's just dumb. So this video is part of a playlist of videos where I rant about generations. And I've said this in my other videos as well, but like I could take these subtopics about millennials and make their own videos about it. So this was kind of like a more broad video just about millennials, their attitude. I just don't like them. I have millennial siblings, okay? So I have plenty of experience. But yeah, if you guys want to hear more of my rants about something specific that I said in this video, or if you have a completely new random idea that you want me to rant about, comment it below. If I have strong feelings about it, I'll probably make a rant video about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.